Hello, carefree cooks all over the world. Welcome once again. This is going to be really cool. This is something I have always wanted to do. Here we are in my kitchen, my home kitchen in downtown Baltimore, Maryland. It's actually a nice day today. We've had a lot of rain throughout. But, you know, every time I cook dinner, almost every time I cook dinner, often when there's like a night that I don't really feel like cooking dinner kind of thing, and I just randomly throw this together and that together, and I kind of yawn throughout the whole thing because I don't think much of it is very exciting, and then all of a sudden it's this great meal, and I always turn to Heather and I say, I wish I had filmed that. Yeah, I wish I had shown the carefree cooks that. Like I headed along a path of this meal that I just didn't think it was going to be very good, and all of a sudden it was. And I want you to witness this. I want you to watch it, and I want us to be together in this. So, you know, over the past decade of teaching cooking online, I have made hundreds of videos. There's 450 on YouTube. There's 200 something on Facebook. There's hundreds of others floating around the internet. I have done dozens and dozens of free webinar classes. I have done tons of stuff in our Carefree Cooks community. All right, I'm rambling already, but we have never cooked live together, and that's what we're going to do today. So welcome everybody. What I really want to do today is demonstrate the basic saute method. We're going to start with something really basic, and you know, this is my mantra. This is what we talk about in the Carefree Cooks community, is that you're able to take the same cooking method, repeat the method, but change the ingredients. So I gave you a list of some of the things that you might need. A chicken breast. Let me get the chicken out of the refrigerator. All right, got my chicken. I'm going to keep the raw stuff over here, and we'll keep the other stuff over here. Got my chicken breast. We need an onion. We need garlic. I have some jarred salsa. I wanted to show you how to just use things out of your pantry as well. I've got my set of seasonings. I've got some cheese. I got out a lime too. You know, this always happens. I think something is a really good idea, and then at the very end, I think of another ingredient, so I throw it in there. Does this sound cool to you? Does this sound good? Lots of hearts, lots of thumbs up. This is good because this is our inaugural Carefree Cook-Along, all right? This is an idea that's been floating around in my head for a long time, so thank you for the love. Thank you for the support. If you like it, tell me you like it. So, is there anything here that you think maybe we should have? You know what we're going to do. We're going to make a basic chicken black bean dish, deglaze with some chicken broth, put some jarred salsa in it. So again, this is up to you entirely. If you want to do beef or you want to do shrimp, you do what you want to do, all right? But first, we got to do prep. So I'm going to take you through this from step to step. This isn't like the fancy food shows where everything is already measured out in a ramekin. No, we do the real work here. I'm a real working chef. So you like that? Does that sound good to you from absolute start, from a whole onion to end? So if that sounds good to you, give me a like. Give me a thumbs up. All right, would you rather just see ramekins, like the guy just pours it in the pan and, you know, he gives you one recipe? No, we're about all the skills here. So let's start our prep, and I usually start my prep doing the raw stuff last. From a sanitation standpoint, I like to get all my aromatics, chop all my vegetables, worry about that cross-contamination at the end. So if I'm cleaning chicken and that spreads all over my other cutting boards, I don't want to do that. So last time I had trouble with the camera when we did the live breakfast, so hopefully I have helped that because I've got my cutting board camera here, and listen carefully. That's right, that's my Toledo steel knife from Spain. Knife, meat, cutting board, all right? And I've got an onion. The first thing I'm going to need is some diced onion. So the onion from root end to blossom end, and oh, here's another quick lesson. What do you do with this end of the onion? I usually take out some plastic wrap, take a little square piece, lay it down flat. We'll put the onion down there, flat end down, gather the corners, twist, 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 and then I'll tuck that tail underneath, and that's going to keep my onion nice and fresh in the fridge. You like that? You dig that idea? All right, I'm going to put that in the fridge. So I'm left with half an onion here. Of course, the root end is our friend. We always want to leave the root end on because it keeps the onion together. I'm going to cut the blossom end off, peel the onion, and discard my scrap. With my knife horizontal to the cutting board, I'm going to pull from heel to tip. One horizontal cut, pull from heel to tip. Two horizontal cuts, fingers on top of the onion, so not behind where the knife is heading, and 3 horizontal cuts in my onion. You can see that. And then with the tip of the knife, 1, 2, 3, 4 vertical cuts, and I've got that kind of checkerboard fashion in the onion with the tip fulcrum method. I've got the heel of the onion, and I usually go around it so as not to waste stuff. This can go in a Ziploc bag in the freezer for my next bit of stock, all right? So first bit of prep, I've got my onion done. Notice when I wipe my knife also, wipe down toward the edge. If you want to wipe your knife with your finger, wipe this way. Don't ever wipe along the blade of the knife. That's the best way to cut yourself. All right, garlic next. Let's get... I usually take 2 big cloves and wind up only using half of it. Let's see. Oh, those onions are already, they're already getting in my eyes. Probably should have cut the onions last. All right, 2 cloves of garlic. I'm going to give them just a gentle smash to break them so I can get that skin off. All right, skin waste. A little smack there. Cool, cool. Everybody's digging this, right? This has been a long time coming, I'll tell you what. And this is just our first time cooking together. I mean, this, you know, I like to experiment and give you guys new ideas, things to do. This could really start to happen. Now, there's 2 things I can do with this garlic. I can treat it just like the onion and make these horizontal cuts, and then the vertical cuts, and then come across with the tip fulcrum method. Notice my grip as well, right? This is the best grip for a knife. This way my knife doesn't spin in my hand. Pinching it at the bolster, wrapping my other fingers around. So my tip fulcrum method. Also notice that I'm cutting with the last 2 inches of the knife. If you cut with the first 2 inches of the knife up here, you got to bring your wrist way up and down each time. If you cut with the back 2 inches, you barely have to lift the knife. So I'm going to continue to mince my garlic that way. I can also make a paste out of the garlic if I'd like with the back of the knife squishing and pulling toward me. Does that sound good? This is in web cooking classes as well, right? I show you how to make the garlic paste. Or actually, I think that's in Burn Your Recipes. But you like that? I love the raining hearts. Thank you so much. Hearts raining. Okay, wiping down the blade that way. The garlic is really sticky. My prep is going. Let's wash this knife off a little bit. All right, that's really the only aromatics that I need right now is the garlic and the onion. As I said, I wanted to try and keep this really simple, so we're not going to make this complicated. You can, if you want. You can make this as complicated as you'd like by adding jalapenos and other kind of aromatics and things like that. All right, got our aromatics cut, so let's take this cutting board out of sight for now and bring in my other cutting board, which is the one that I always use for raw items. Always have 2 different cutting boards. One for fresh items, salad items, aromatics, things like that. The other for potentially hazardous items. So let's go look at this chicken that I got as well. This is really good chicken. Chesapeake Choice chicken. This comes from Elkton, Maryland, not far north of me. It's a pain to cut that open. So that's the one bit of prep I did for you. We're doing our mise en place for our Mexican chicken dish, all right? Let's rinse my hands a little bit. And let's take a look at this chicken. No chicken for you, Harry. Harry's trying to get involved. All right, first I could see the tender. All right, so let's remove that tender. And again, longest strokes is best with a boning knife. So nice long stroke, and that removes that chicken tender. Boy, that's a big chicken breast. Man, oh man, that's too big. Let's look over here for any bone that might be left, any cartilage, and actually I can feel with my finger right here just a little bit of cartilage, and that's not going to taste good when it gets stuck in your teeth. All right, there's one cleaned. I've got the second one. The tender is a little smaller. This is breasts from 2 different chickens here for sure. Look at this. This is a lopsided chicken for sure. Okay, I've got my 2 tenders out, and here's this tendon, right, that you always see in a chicken tender. Let me show you quickly how to get rid of that. Generally what I do is insert the knife like a sewing needle underneath so I can get myself a little tab to hold on to, and with the knife on top of the tendon, I'm going to run it horizontally along and just kind of push, and you can see that whole tendon, that silver skin, comes right out. So you don't really have to cut, you really just have to push the knife down along. And then what I usually do is I keep my tenders in their own little Ziploc bag, because one day soon these will become a soup or these will become a stew or something, but right now they don't need to go in my chicken dish. Okay. Let's get out a scale here. I want to show you this for a minute. Let's see the difference between these two guys. You can see the scale. I've got a plate. Let's zero that out. This is one lopsided chicken. And of course, remember, consistency of cut is consistency of cook. All right, that's 7.3 ounces for a chicken breast. Man, oh man, that's big. This one is 4.5 ounces. So if I try and cook these two chicken breasts together, if I take a 7.5 ounce chicken breast and a 4.5 ounce chicken breast and put them both in the saute pan together, one is going to be raw, one's going to be burnt and rubbery and overcooked, or I've got to take one out and then continue to cook the other. This is a problem waiting to happen. Portioning and cutting your items correctly makes your cooking so much easier. So let's try and make both of these, like 4.5 ounce chicken breasts, and let me show you how we do this. This is one of the more advanced cuts that you're going to find because it's really difficult to do. All right, I'm going to leave this chicken breast alone. One of the most difficult cuts in all of culinary is this horizontal cut, keeping your knife at a consistent angle as you cut horizontally. Tip fulcrum method is easy because the knife stays on the cutting board. Horizontal cut can go all kinds of ways all over the place. So what I want to do with a horizontal cut is set my knife, I hope you can see this, set my knife about halfway up on the chicken and put my hand flat. Watch out for the thumb. My hand flat, and pull my knife horizontally through the chicken breast. And what I should have done is taken off some of the meat. Let's go ahead and weigh this now. 4.6 ounces. Man, I'm good. Alright, so let's go back here. Now I'm going to take this because this is scrappiness, and this will go in with the tenders for the tenderloin, and that will be soup or chicken salad or something sometime in the future. Okay, now I've got two chicken breasts that are the same size. I've got a decision to make here with my chicken breasts. Do I want to leave them intact as they are? And they are going to stiffen and shrink a lot more, or should I pound them out a little bit? And a lot of times when I cook chicken, the first thing I do is pound it out. So we're going to take another step. A little bit of plastic wrap. My medieval chicken tool. This stuff, don't ever hit something with that. It's really dumb. And I'm just going to tap. I'm not trying to smash the chicken, but I'm just trying to make it a consistent width. And a consistent width will also help it cook more evenly. Alright. There we go. I'm not trying to make it paper thin. If I were stuffing it with something or rolling it, I probably would make it a lot thinner. But there's my two chicken breasts. Okay, they are now the same weight. Okay, let's talk about this because this is important. They are now the same, getting the light here, they are now the same weight, they're now the same size, they're now the same thickness. That is something that is a lot more likely to cook consistently. So anytime, like when you're making a hamburger, make all the hamburgers either exactly the same size so that they'll cook the same, or the ones that you want rare, make them bigger. You get the idea? Okay, so let's heat up our pan here. Let's go back to the stove and move the camera a little bit. And here's our pan. Saute method, pan hot first. How do we tell if the pan's hot? We sprinkle some water in the pan. Whoa, that is way too hot. All right, this is a good lesson right here. If you see droplets scurrying around in the pan like that, not evaporating, but hovering above the surface of the pan, that pan is too hot. That's called the Leidenfrost effect. And what we want is evaporation of moisture, not the water hovering above the pan. So I'm going to pick it up, I'm going to swish it around, I'm going to cool it, I'm going to toss it, get air around it, do everything I can to cool this pan down. Because if I put oil in it right now, it's going to smoke immediately, and I've got to start all over again. All right, return the pan to the heat. Let's see. Okay, a little better. Still too hot. Hey, this is real time, ladies and gentlemen. I would mess it up. Like, it would be such a stinky video if I just kept going. If I ignored this and I was like, oh, here we go, because what we would wind up with is burnt oil, burnt chicken, and just a really bad video that you want to do. All right, so if you're following along, if you're doing the Carefree Cooks Cook-Along, I'm giving you a little time to catch up. So far, we have diced our onion into small dice. We've cut some garlic up really nicely. And we've cleaned our chicken, made sure it was the same portion and the same thickness. And now we are guarding against a pan that is too hot. Okay, let's add some olive oil. This is the last of my oil from Spain. Oh my God, I'm so sad. Oh, there's still water in there. That's a mistake too. You don't want to put oil in a pan that still has water. All right, step 1, pan hot. Step 2, some kind of fat. We're going to use olive oil. The last of my oil from Spain. Step 3, fat hot. This is what we're looking for. That ripply effect, right? The back and forth. Our chicken show side down first in the pan. And we're going to watch the coagulation of proteins while I wash my hands. Get rid of the dirty cutting board with the raw food. Wash my hands. Bring back the cutting board with the aromatics as our chicken continues to cook. All right, so what we've done here so far is a basic saute method. All we did was cut onions, garlic, clean some chicken, and start to cook the chicken. My goodness, this could be any meal at this point, right? We could go any direction. How many meals are comprised of onions, garlic, and chicken? You know, this could be just about anything at this point. But we're going to make it a Mexican dish. Now, people ask me all the time, how do you come up with your ideas for dinner, your dinner ideas? The reason that we're making a Mexican dish tonight is simply because I had half a can of black beans. I opened a can of black beans the other day to use them for something, and these are staring at me in the fridge, and they've been bugging me for a day or two. They've been looking at me going, use me, don't throw me away, use me. So based on this one ingredient, I was like, all right, let's do a saute, you know, let's do a basic saute and make a Mexican dish. All right, let's go back to the pan here and see what's going on in the pan. This pan looks a little too hot to me, okay? I'm getting a lot of smoke out of this pan right now. So let's work with the heat. People tell me, I get comments all the time, oh, Chef Todd, I followed the procedure. Should I have lowered the heat at some point? Yeah, if it was too hot, you definitely should have lowered the heat at some point. The key to this is controlling the heat. And notice, I mean, I'm showing this to the camera, but what I'm really trying to do is keep it off the heat for a minute because it was way too hot. It's splattering on my stove. It's starting to smoke a little bit. So let's take it off the heat and let it rest. But look what we do have. That coagulation of protein. That beautiful white color that's starting to creep upside the chicken breast. That's when I know it's starting to cook. And if I take out my tongs, let's peek under there. Look at that. Look at that nice caramelization of sugars that we have. And do you notice one other thing? I'm going to let that cook for another minute. Do you notice one other thing about this? Excuse me, it didn't stick. It didn't stick to the pan. I get so many emails about people telling me how their stuff sticks to the pan and they are afraid to cook without Teflon. If you go through the process of heating the pan correctly, adding the fat, adding the chicken and so on, it won't stick. It's how you cook it, not the pan that you're cooking in. So now that I've got this coagulation of protein more than 3/4 of the way up, and notice I put the pan back down on the heat and it started to smoke again, so let's go ahead and turn that over and look at that beautiful color. Beautiful caramelization of sugars. I'm going to lower the heat again because what I've already done is I've cooked it as much as I want to on the show side, the side that's going to go up on the plate and be shown to everyone. It's called the show side, usually where the skin is. The no side is where the tender is, but this is the most important side to me. The other side I really don't care about. And I got a lot of other things that I got to do in this pan that I'm not going to be so worried about the chicken. What I'm going to do in our basic saute method is take myself a little sheet pan here, or even a plate if you wanted to, and I'm going to remove the chicken to the plate. You can see, maybe you can see, it's still raw in the middle. Oh my goodness, Chef Todd, are you going to serve raw chicken? No, I'm not going to serve raw chicken, but I don't need to cook it entirely in this pan because, of course, I'm dealing with direct conductive heat. So these 2 chicken breasts are going to go in the oven to finish if I want. My oven is set to 180 degrees right now, Fahrenheit. That is, what, 60 or so Celsius? That's just to heat up plates. But right now I'm going to keep that chicken warm because what I really want to work with is the fond. Look how beautiful that is. It's caramely, it's brown, it's not burned, my pan isn't smoking, and look, I still have oil in the pan. I still have parts of that olive oil, I still have the rendered fat from the chicken. Did you like that? Was it cool, the way that I did that chicken? All right, so now I've got, oh, we just broke 100 people live. All right, my pan's starting to smoke again. Thank you, everyone. We're going to add our aromatics. These onions that we chopped just a minute ago, there is no need to add any more oil to the pan or any more fat to the pan. We're going to saute our aromatics in the rendered fat from the chicken and the olive oil that we added earlier. Onions first because they're tougher. Garlic next, a little bit more aromatic. You can decide at this point if you want your onions browned, continue to cook them, or if you want your onions just sweat. But you do need to keep a close eye on this pan because when our fond here starts to go from beautiful brown like it is now and starts to get black and we start to see a little bit more smoke, it's time to stop that cooking quickly and dramatically. I normally use some kind of liquor or tequila or a margarita mix or something. We're going to do chicken stock today. A little bit of chicken broth. Right now in my freezer, I have chicken stock, lamb stock, clam stock, veal stock, and beef stock. Because anytime I make any of those things and I have leftover bones, I go ahead and make a stock from it. All right, so we've gone through a lot of the steps here with the basic saute method. Pan hot first, some kind of fat, fat hot, protein product, 75% of the way on the first side. Who cares about the second side? Put it in the oven to finish, or we can return it to the pan, saute our aromatics in the fond to build that flavor, and then deglaze the pan with a flavorful liquid. Please don't use water. Water's not good. But now, here's an important part. If you were using wine, another question that I get a lot, if you deglaze the pan with wine, you can't make a sauce out of wine. When you deglaze a pan, the whole idea is to reduce the pan, is to let that flavor that you added to the pan evaporate and reduce the volume of it as well. So if you saute and deglaze with wine, let the wine reduce, then add chicken broth or something. I've kind of skipped that point today because, like I said, I wanted it to be a little easier dish, a little more straightforward dish. Now I'm going to make sure that this simmers nicely. Okay. A nice little simmer, swish it around. And what I'm making here is kind of like an onion and garlic stock, right? I put in a little too much volume. But here's another thing. Look at the bottom of that pan, right? Perfectly clean. There's nothing burned on the bottom of that pan, right? Because I went about doing the basic saute method correctly. Now I need a thickening agent. I need something to be able to thicken this sauce. And yes, I could make a roux. Yes, I could do cornstarch. Yes, I could use a cheese. Yes, there's a ton of ways to thicken this. I thought about tomato paste because it's like a Mexican dish. And one step better than tomato paste is jarred salsa. It's easy, right? I had it in my pantry. Let's just add a few spoonfuls of jarred salsa and you'll see how the tomato will actually thicken this liquid as it continues to reduce. All right, that's a nice looking sauce now. Look at that. A little thicker. Let's add a little bit more. Can't hurt, right? And next thing I'm going to do is check my degree of nappe. We'll coat the back of the spoon. I'll run my finger through there and see if I make a track. Still a little thin. Run my finger through, and the quickness with which that track runs back together is the thickness of my sauce. There we go. If the track does not run back together, I see a sauce thick enough to stick to food. And now, the star of the show, ladies and gentlemen, the whole reason we're here was because I wanted to use up half a can of black beans. That's the whole motivation for it. Let's add the black beans to it. Just let them heat through. That's why you needed canned black beans. You can't use the dry ones because we would have had to reconstitute them first. Okay, some beans. And here comes our spice team now. Now this is the next consideration, and this is the next biggest thing that I get questions about, is which spices to use, how many spices to use, how much of the spices to use. It's nerve-wracking, okay? And a lot of these questions come from recipe followers. A lot of these questions come from, oh my goodness, is it a teaspoon or half a teaspoon or a tablespoon? Or it doesn't matter. It just really doesn't matter. It's like asking a painter how much blue, you know, to use. So it does come with a little sense of tasting. And let me show you another great trick, because what I do, excuse my back, is a lot of times I'll take a little ramekin, okay, take a bunch of my sauce and use this as an experimenter. Put a little bit of cilantro in, smell it and taste it. No, that doesn't go along. That doesn't work really well. And if that doesn't work, then I can toss it out and I'm not ruining the entire dish. But I already know my spice team for this. This is a Latin dish, so I am going to use coriander, cumin, cilantro, white pepper, red pepper, and then I've got a really special ingredient that I really, really love. So let me show you how we do this. Do not shake spices over the dish because the top comes off or you add too much. I always put them in my hand first, okay? And then crumble into the dish. That's the cumin. Cumin's a little tougher than the coriander is. Coriander's a little sweeter, a little bit more aromatic. So I'm going to add twice as much of the coriander as I did the cumin. Since this is a wet environment now, I can go ahead and add a dried leafy vegetable. I wouldn't have done that in the saute. I'm going to add a little of the white pepper in my hand first. Do what I say, not what I do, darn it. And then a little bit of red pepper. Don't you love hypocritical chefs? We'll add that there. And here's the secret ingredient. This is my applewood smoked salt. This stuff, look at this. Oh, if you smell that, it smells like the inside of a barrel, like a smoked out barrel, and I love the flavor that the salt adds. Please don't use that lousy salt, smoke liquid stuff. Oh my goodness, it's so horrible. Okay, so now we've got this nice dish going. Look at how it's thickened up. It's time to check on our chicken. So, back down in the oven with the tongs. Let's take our chicken out. It's still beautiful. It didn't get any uglier in the pan. And of course, what do I need? Where is she? My handy dandy thermometer. A lot of questions about thermometers as well. This, I don't know, this cost me like 10 bucks. And they usually last for years. I don't usually buy expensive thermometers. So I'm going to take the temperature in the thickest part of the thickest piece, because logically that way everything else is at least that temperature, right? So the thickest part of the thickest piece right now, keep going, keep going. 114, 119 Fahrenheit, 25, 27. Maybe I should spend more on a thermometer that it would read instantly. 38, 138, 139. Of course, finished, final cook temperature, 165. I'm at 145 right now. It doesn't look like the oven is going to do it for me. And we're a little pressed for time. I don't want to sit here all day and do this. So, the same way on Tuesday Talk Live that we've talked about conductive and convective heat, we've talked about dry and moist. If I'm impatient for this large area oven at 180 degrees, can't I also, whoops, there we go. Can't I also take my chicken and add it right to the sauce? Now, let's add a lid, lower the temperature a little bit, and now I'm cooking in a moist, convective fashion. In essence, I'm starting to steam those chicken breasts. And in that covered small dish there is a lot more heat. It is a lot more heat than I could possibly generate in the oven. So this is another way, this is another reason that you should be thinking about how you're applying heat to food. It's not recipes that are the key to cooking. The key to cooking is controlling heat. And today, you've seen me cool the pan, heat the pan. You've seen me put moisture, room temperature moisture to lift the fond. You've seen me change this from direct cooking method And you've seen me change this from a direct cooking method to an indirect cooking method, from a dry method to a moist method. This whole thing today, this whole basic saute method, has all been about controlling the heat. And this is what I try and talk about. Next thing, because our meal is almost done. Hot plates. Don't ever serve something on a cold plate, all right? Because put those 2 plates in the oven at 180 degrees. A cold plate takes the heat from the food. If you have a cold plate and hot food, you wind up with warm plate and warm food. So my plates always go right in the oven right before I'm about to serve. And now, let's see what's happening with our dish here. All right, got a little simmering going on. Look at that. That's looking really, really nice. What do you think? Should we hit it with the thermometer again? Let's do it. Maybe you can see this time. I gotta lower that heat. I don't want it to boil. That's too much. All right. All right. I just made a mistake that I really shouldn't do. All right. For the sake of don't do as I did, do as I in the side of the chicken. I just put a nice, not a nice hole in the top of my chicken. You should really take the temperature in the side. All right. Just being a little lazy there. Now I've got 150, 54. 55. There we go. Now we're getting to where I want to be. Okay, so you could see the difference between the moist convective heat. We only need another 5 degrees or so. You could see the difference between the moist convective heat and the dry convective heat. That would have taken another 20 minutes in the oven. But cooking it in its sauce gives it more flavor, and the smaller environment in the moist cooking makes it move along a little bit faster. So again, that's why I talk about thinking about how you're applying heat to food. I think, oh, I was unwrapping cheese. I've got some awesome cheese. Oh, we're asking Jan. Was it Jan that was asking about the salt? Chelsea? Allison asking about the applewood smoked salt. In my area, I go to the farmer's market generally. There's a spice guy at the farmer's market. This specific stuff, here in Baltimore, we have a market called Mom's. It's kind of like Whole Foods, but actually I think it's a guy from Trader Joe's or a guy from Whole Foods opened it, but it's a little bit more, it's not whole paycheck, but they still have chicken from Eastern Shore of Maryland or Maryland, Pennsylvania line. I get all my eggs, all my milk, all my stuff from there. It's like a very local place, but the applewood smoked salt, they have a whole like bulk section, you know, for spices, and that's where I get it from. I buy a Thai, what is this called? Oh, Thai rub. I buy this little Thai rub. It looks illicit in a plastic bag, but trust me, it's not. It's Thai spice. So I get all kinds of weird things from them now. All right, wasting time so that I can make sure that our dish is safe to eat. Thermometer. Oh, I dropped it on the floor. And there's no such thing as the 5-second rule, so it's going to the sink. Hey, do you believe in the 5-second rule? Tell me yes or no. That was the holder that fell. 5-second rule, is it a myth or is it true or what? Have you ever done it? Have you ever picked something up off the floor when nobody's watching and served it anyway? Come on, be honest. I know you have. All right, here we go. Now the thermometer's spinning, spinning. That's good. 40, 50, 60. We're there. All right, heat down. All systems stop. Plates are now warm. They come from the oven. Let's go over here to plate up. There we go. And this is a simple case of moving the chicken breast to the side. A couple of you said, yeah, 5 seconds good. Hey, that's okay. Just don't invite me to your house for dinner, please. All right, so let's plate up here. We have our beans, all right, our bean mixture with the tomato. We're going to put that right in the middle of the plate. Heather is a petite goddess, so she gets a smaller portion than I do because I'm still a growing boy. All right, okay, we got that part. We got chicken on top of that. All right, don't want to waste any of this, so it might ruin the presentation a little bit, but I'll put a little bit more around it. Let's take the Manchego to it. Oh, nice. Some nice Spanish Manchego. All right, I was talking before about in the basic Saute method. This is a 7-year cheddar from Pennsylvania. Killer. When I was talking about before thickening in the basic Saute method, and I mentioned that you can't make a sauce with wine, and Eric's asking me why not. Of course, when people ask me why not, I always challenge them, just go ahead and do it, taste it, and tell me how it came out. But really, the reason is the acidic nature of wine. Wine is very acidic. You wouldn't want a sauce that's so that acidy. Like people talk about orange sauces. Orange sauces aren't made out of 100% orange juice. My God, they'd be so tart. So really the wine is meant to deglaze the pan, drop the temperature of the pan, release the fond from the bottom of the pan to make your sauce, and then evaporate, leaving the fruit juice in the aromatics, in the onions and garlics. That's the reminiscence of it, if you will. Then you come along with chicken broth or any kind of flavorful liquid. But, you know, Eric, you could try it on your own, and you could tell me that I make sauces out of wine all the time, and they're fantastic. And you know what I would say? That's the great thing about cooking, right? If it's good to you, do it. So let's see what we got here in our basic Saute method. What do you say? You like this? Could you do that in 9 easy steps? Give me a love, a heart, whatever you like. You like that? All right, so here's our Mexi Latin chicken dish with black beans. It demonstrates our basic Saute method, and we did this, what time is it right now? We did this in 36 minutes, in about 30 minutes, right? Even with all my blabbing. Now, if you're going to try this at home, you don't need to, if you're going to try this at home, you do not need to entertain an audience of hundreds of people, and you don't need to talk constantly and set up all the lighting and the equipment. I gotta work on this lighting. Do I look like I'm telling a horror story? But if you like this, if you dig it, share it with people. We need more people to join our cooking revolution, our Carefree Cooks revolution, because this is what makes cooking so easy. We get it, you know? Others aren't getting it. Others that are following recipes and they're going, oh, cooking is so bad. Cooking is, you know, it's so frustrating. It's so restrictive. I know why. Because you're giving your power up to a cookbook author, to somebody else. So click share so others can see this video and like it, love it. The more reactions that we have, the more comments from you, the more Facebook loves us as well, and we can get more people involved in our community, in our Carefree Cooks community. So thank you very much for being with us. It was a great cook-along. If you made a dish, if you cooked along with me today, post the photo, please. Under this post, let's see what everybody's dish is. I'll take a photo of mine. I'll post that as well. And look, this was just the first one, okay? This was just the first experiment in a Carefree cook-along. Tell me how you liked it. Was it good? Should we do another one? What would you like us to do in the future? What do you want to see? Like everything else, I get used to the technology. I get the kinks out of it, and the more we do it, the easier it gets and the more fun we have together. So tell me under this post, what do you want to see? When should we do it again? What kind of things should we do? This is the very first inaugural trip, and I definitely don't want it to be the last. So thank you everyone for being with us. Heather and I got to eat dinner. This looks too good to waste. Don't forget, Chef Todd telling you once again that, of course, there's a method to your cooking success. See you, everyone. Enjoy your dinner. Have a great time.